Hello everyone. We have a new update, 7.1, and I think it actually landed already on the servers. I didn't get around to recording an overview of the patch notes yesterday, but let's spend the next 15 minutes going through them. We'll see what's changed, and I'll give you my views on all of these things. I haven't tried it myself yet. I've just logged in once just to see that it works. We are going to have a new map, Sleeping Giant. Haven't looked at it yet. It's interestingly enough, a tier 6 to 10 map, so it should be at least relatively common. And anything that prevents us from landing on encounter so much is a good thing in my book. So that's probably something to look at a later stage. Collection book, we get more free stuff, but it's portraits and frames really. So mostly just visuals. And there's another one. Yeah, we do get an epic commander out of that. If you have, what is it that they need? Cherbourg, Perdita, Shimanto, Hawk, Ignacio Allende, Nebraska, and the premium being the Rodney. So for the epic commander, unfortunately, you will have to have the Rodney. So for anybody who doesn't, that will be locked. But I don't also know what that epic commander is capable of. We will find out. And you need to have John Fisher as well, which I probably came out of another collection book, not entirely certain. The daily login rewards have been changed, and I had a very quick look at that. It appears that at the 24th day, you now get something good. So if you can manage 24 logins during a month, you can get something nice out of it. I think for March, it was Tech Tree, was it an Emerald? Something like that. But for April, it's going to be a Uberry, and the Uberry is a very old premium, but it's still a very, very good premium in my opinion. So, yeah, that's great. Tier 4 premium, and in May it's going to be an epic commander. So that should, if the very least thing you do is to just open the game once a day, just to pick up the daily login and to make sure that you count towards the eventual monthly reward, that's very much worth it. New cosmetics, more commanders, more collaborations by the looks of it, maybe. I don't exactly know who these people are, but there's a cowboy, there's a soccer player, and a couple of other things, and the obvious anime girl. More frames, so a lot more on the aesthetic side that you can pick up. Let's get to the good stuff then. Techline editions. We get Spanish cruisers, but we get Spanish cruisers in a very interesting way. So first of all, the Spanish cruisers get the burst fire, and if you've been playing PC then, or watching people playing PC, then you're probably aware of this specific. I don't know if it counts as a combat instruction or if it's just a ship skill with cooldown, but the idea is that in specific situations you can effectively trigger a short rapid fire that allows you to get a couple of salvos out very quickly, but then you're suffering from a very lengthy reload after that. So it's somewhat situational, but if you're not really got anything to shoot at for the next 30 seconds or so while you're reloading, then and just to finish off a ship or something, it might be a good thing to do. So we'll see how that translates into Blitz. But another thing that the eagle-eyed among you might have already spotted, the Spanish cruisers coming out appear to be coming out in odd tech tree steps. And that doesn't mean that we're just going to get odd tech tree branches. They appear to be heavy cruisers as well, at least starting from tier 7 upwards. But as it explains here, we're getting the odd cruisers in 7.1. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a preview or if they're actually going to be showing up in as part of the 7.1 update at some point to be unlocked. We will find out. But in 7.2, we're going to get the even tiers. So I'm not sure how this might just be the preview being staggered into two sets, and the actual tech tree line eventually comes out completely. But we will find out how this is going to work. Subject to change and so on. New premiums. A European tier 6 cruiser, and that's probably on the European tech tree because it's a Greek one. We get the California, the sister ship of the USS Tennessee, or at tier 7. We are getting another hypothetical Japanese battleship. So something like an improved key at tier 9. Okay, we'll see how that turns out. We're getting a 1917 Austro-Hungarian destroyer at tier 9. Yeah, we'll see how that works. Because maybe with some modernization sprinkled on top. We get the USS Salem, the sister of the Des Moines. And a couple of black ships. And yes, the black Christopher Colombo is probably not going to be at tier 9. That's probably a typo. I've reported that, so they might fix it in the patch notes at some point. A bunch of unique camouflages that some of them don't look completely terrible, but at least it gives us a bit of an idea of what the 1917 Austro-Hungarian destroyer is going to look like. I see 3 torpedo launchers, and a couple of these are probably single-fire turrets. So if I had to guess, I would say torpedo boat, but we will find out what that's going to be. And the USS Salem, to nobody's great surprise, looks like a Des Moines, something for the Anhalt, and a couple of a premium camo for the black Großer Kurfürst. Interesting. New epic commanders, again probably some form of crossplay that I'm not particularly aware of where they come from, and a couple of new legendary commanders as well, obviously for the Spanish line by the looks of it, with APCS Plus. So given that these are heavy cruisers, that is sounding good. So we might be seeing an AP focused line here, which would be in line with the I think single premium Spanish cruiser that we have so far. More visual updates. This is all about the Blitz Pass. So it makes it a little easier to see what you're getting and to claim all the things. We get up to 700 ships now, so more space in the port. Battle IDs will be displayed on the battle results page. On the results page. So these are probably the player IDs, if I would have to guess. We'll see. We'll see what that's good for. This hidden very nicely in the what's the section? Additional information section. There's a bit of a bomb dropped. We're gonna get new bots. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to get better bots, because that would actually have involved reworking the bot system. So I'm fully assuming that the bots are going to continue operating as they are. We are going to get British, German, Soviet, Pan-Asian, French, American, European, Dutch, and Italian tech tree ships as bots. I couldn't already imagine that there are going to be a couple of really funky, really funky things that are going to happen with that one. So I'm just thinking Conqueror doing the initial D drift along islands and just dancing to avoid shells. We're probably going to see St. Vincent bots. So that could be fun. We're going to see like Großer Kurfürst bots as well. The more tricky part is that we're going to get a couple of relatively good HE spammers. For example, I don't know, the Dutch, the French. I don't know if the Dutch cruisers are going to be launching any strikes, because so far bots haven't been capable of doing that. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to operate, and if they're actually going to be using the strike feature, or if they're just going to sail around not using it. But Pan-Asian bots might be quite funky with the light cruisers and their HE spamming capacity. So that could get interesting. Spanish tech line will be introduced as bots in 7.3. And it's obviously in bot battles, random battles, and respawn. So in randoms and respawn as fillers. That really is going to be fun. So I think I'll be playing some bot games just to see what's going on here and what's the potential impact going to be of seeing those ships on the bot side now. specifically with their extreme drift capacity. So we're going to see bigger guns. Vermont's, Großer Kurfürst, Kremlin's, St. Vincent's. That's a lot of large guns coming up in tier 10, and bots do have appear to have a tendency to randomize the ammunition loadout. Plus, we're going to see a bunch of new carriers as well. Obviously, the torpedo-wise, they're going to be harmless, but we're going to have to contest with German armor-piercing dive bombers now, and with the British level bombers by the looks of it, plus whatever the Soviets are throwing out there. Bug fixes. The ensign on the Grom has been corrected. That is a good step in the right direction. Woohoo! Unfortunately, if it's just the Grom, well, we've got ways to go, because we still have to fix the Canzones and the Gdansk and everybody else. So, leaving room for future improvements, I might call it that one. Ship balancing changes. The hitboxes have been changed on the Shikoshima, on the Petro, and on the Goliath. I'm not entirely sure what that entails. Probably something around, if I would have to guess, something around the superstructure, but we don't know any details. And I doubt that it's going to make a massive difference in most games. So still, it's something to keep in mind. The Howden Leo gets a legendary equipment, which gives her an additional airstrike, which is huge, plus a 20% reduction of the airstrike reload. And the price that you pay is a 5% damage reduction. That sounds like an extremely tempting thing to do, because both the strike reduction and the additional airstrike, it's not so much about the damage you're doing with the bombs. This is for HE spam and setting fires. And that might actually be quite funky combined with the Howden Leo's main gun. So definitely a ship that I will be testing. A lot of things to put on my list. The Manfred von Richthofen gets one as well, which makes everything faster, which is great, because I'm not a carrier player, but I remember the German carriers having relatively fast fighters. So having faster things is good. And the Elbing gets one as well, which gives you a 15% reload boost for a 10% firing range reduction. Not 100% certain that's worth it. 15% is a lot, and the armor piercing hits really hard. I will have to check what how bad it is range-wise. I think Elbing has a relatively long range and it's very precise. So for skilled players, I think this is going to be a no-brainer, because they will just have to play a little bit closer up, compensate with positioning and maneuverability, and they get a 15% reload booster, which is probably going to be quite massive for the damage output of the Elbing. The Almirante Grau gets her combat instruction fixed. Yes, thank you. I think some of us actually mentioned that during the reviews. I think Sly mentioned it, that she should have about a 40 hit activation for the combat instruction, and that is definitely a step in the right direction. I'm not sure if it's enough yet to make it a really good ship, but that thing needed some help. So I think that's going to be a good one. And the FR-25 gets the main battery reload. I can't remember what the FR-25 was all about, so I'm gonna have to check what the impact of that is. But the Almirante Grau definitely was in need of that, so that I remember. Now we get the AA changes, unfortunately no longer as a spreadsheet, so I can't just easily see where the biggest difference happens. But this is going to be the American ones, and it's going to be small caliber adjustment across the board. Now you got to be a little careful here, because small caliber, especially on the high tier American cruisers, doesn't mean what you think it means, because things like the Des Moines and the Worcester have a really long range on the small caliber. So. And they have high-level FAA skills, which will boost the small caliber disproportionately. So we'll see what the change is here. Some of the mid-tier ones definitely, like the New Orleans, going from 115 to 170. But that's a very short-range small caliber AA. It's more interesting on the high-tier ones. So the Baltimore gets a significant boost. And the And the Des Moines, unfortunately, only gets 6 points, which is not an awful lot. So Des Moines, unfortunately, gets the short end of the stick, whereas on the light cruisers, it's going to get interesting starting from the Seattle. And the Seattle gets a big one, and that was necessary. Seattle's AA was okay, but not as good as it should have been. So Cleveland's got a bit, but Seattle got a 55-point boost, which is important. And the Worcester gets a 24-point boost, which is more than what the Des Moines got, which is sadness, because I think Des Moines has been around for a very long time, and she, in my opinion, should have gotten the same treatment as Worcester here. But looking at the battleships, it's pretty much a similar story. Some of the premiums get quite significant upticks, but even some of the non-premiums, like the Kansas, gets 100-point extra on a small caliber AA. And in the higher tiers, the ships like, where are we? Ships like Vermont get more than 100 points extra. The Montana gets almost 100 points extra. So that's a fair amount of AA, especially on ships that have a defensive AA skill, which the Monty doesn't, but some others do. And the aircraft carriers as well have been pumped quite a bit, except for the Independence, which has lost 10 points in AA for whatever reason. But okay, we'll take it. So it's the small caliber AA upgrade that has been pulled along from the previous updates as well. It's not a massive change, but I was really curious to see what they had done to the American ships, because American ships obviously having a very, very good AA to begin with. What's next? User interface changes, modernizing UI, player surveys. So they would like to hear your feedback, which I'm very happy about that. More collaborations, and that's it. So main takeaways: Spanish tech tree release in some way across the next coming months. Make sure you pick up the login awards, because good stuff happens when you complete it for the month. We get most nation bots now, which is going to be all kinds of hilarious, and we have some rebalancing and AA buffs for the American ships. So there's a lot of stuff for me to try out and test, which I will be doing over the coming weeks. Anyway, I think I've been keeping you for long enough now. Update seems to be out, at least on the NA server, and I will get on with it. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.